Equals Berlin, November 1938. The smell of smoke still lingered in the streets. Broken glass gleamed beneath a pale winter sun, like the remnants of stars torn from the sky. Hannah Rosens stood before her family shop, once a modest haven of books and learning, now a skeleton of charred wood and shattered words. Her father, David, surveyed the wreckage silently, lips trembling but unbroken. "We survived," he whispered, voice brittle. Each word was an act of defiance. Police passed briskly, indifferent, while neighbors turned away in shame. The night of broken glass had become the dawn of something darker. Hannah gathered a torn page from a scorched book, its ink blurred yet stubbornly legible. She folded it into her coat pocket as if saving a fragment of sanity. The air was cold, heavy with fear, yet beneath it throbbed a quiet resilience. Somewhere in the ruins, a decision began to form. They would have to leave Germany, or Germany would claim them.
By January 1939, the Rosen family joined endless lines outside foreign consulates. Cold wind bit through wool coats as bureaucrats stamped rejection after rejection. The walls inside the American embassy were lined with hopeful faces, each reflecting disbelief as officials recited the same phrase: "Quota is full." Hannah clutched papers, birth certificates, testimonies, letters, all of them stamped with denial. A clerk's typewriter clacked relentlessly, echoing like a gunshot rhythm of refusal. In the queue, she met another soul, a widower from Vienna, murmuring, "We are ghosts already." Her father's hands trembled under the weight of official seals, his dignity eroding faster than his patience. The promise of escape was fading into bureaucracy's shadow. When they stepped back into the icy street, Berlin's skyline stood indifferent, its red banners fluttering like warnings. Still, Hannah whispered, "We'll find a way." Her voice was soft, but carried the fire her father had nearly lost.
Weeks passed in anxious silence, punctured only by the rattle of the postman's bicycle outside. Every knock at the door sent hearts racing. Each envelope could mean life or confinement. One late afternoon, February light dimming through lace curtains, a letter bearing British stationery arrived. David tore it open. A cousin in London promised sponsorship, but only if the visa came quickly. Time, however, moved like tar. Rumors swept the Jewish quarter. Ships denied entry. Families turned back at foreign ports. Hannah read newspaper scraps in secret, her eyes tracing unfamiliar maps. Shanghai, Havana, Lisbon, names that sounded like impossible fantasies. Her mother, Miriam, packed documents meticulously, folding them alongside family photographs as if this order could calm chaos. "We must keep hoping," she whispered. But hope itself was becoming contraband in the Reich. Outside, loudspeakers barked propaganda, the lie of a reborn Germany swelling with menace. Inside, the Rosens prepared for their uncertain exodus.
Miriam and Hannah walked the labyrinth of Berlin's bureaucratic districts, chasing one elusive stamp after another. Always another office, another signature, another official's shrugs of indifference. In a narrow hallway smelling of ink and dust, a clerk whispered, "Try the Swiss consulate. They still see some cases." Yet even there, walls of documents rose like fortresses. Each page demanded proof of funds, proof of livelihood, proof of existence itself. Meanwhile, anti-Jewish decrees multiplied weekly, threading a noose around daily life. On the tram, Hannah avoided meeting eyes. Every uniform made her pulse quicken. Despite exhaustion, she copied names and addresses into a notebook, building fragile bridges of hope. "They can take our shop, our papers," Miriam murmured, "but not our will."
That night, beneath the flicker of a candle, Hannah signed her name one last time, steady and defiant, as though ink could defy tyranny. Equals. In March, the family prepared a packet for the embassy: birth records, affidavits, sponsorship letters. Hannah added something else, a small photograph of her younger brother Samuel, smiling in pre-war innocence. He had been sent to stay with relatives in Prague, beyond their reach for now. As the photographer's flash cracked, the image burned into memory, a family poised between past and exile. Afterward, silence hung like fog. David adjusted his tie, pretending confidence for the camera, but his eyes betrayed a gathering storm. "This picture," he said softly, "is proof that we were once whole." Outside, spring crept hesitantly into the city, yet no renewal followed. Posters warned Jews not to leave the country without permission. Every knock at the door had become a question of fate. Still, the photograph remained, fragile evidence of love in a landscape of fear. Tempelhof Station, April 1939. Trains hissed like beasts ready for departure, while guards patrolled the platforms. Hannah clasped their precious documents, her knuckles white. The Rosens hoped to reach Hamburg, where ships still left, sometimes for far-off shores. But whispers moved faster than schedules, visas revoked, routes closed, Gestapo checks growing harsher. A woman in line beside them wept quietly as her luggage was searched. "They took my husband," she whispered, "at dawn." David glanced at his daughter. "Keep your head down," he murmured. Steam engulfed them, blurring faces and uniforms alike. The train lurched forward, its metallic cry mingling with cries of parting. For a moment, Berlin disappeared behind the smoke. Hannah pressed her forehead to the window, watching the city of her childhood fade into gray distance. "We're leaving," she breathed, but whether toward freedom or another prison, she did not know.
Hamburg, once bustling with promise, now felt like a border between worlds. The Swiss and Dutch consulates were flooded with desperate faces. Inside the Dutch office, crowded air thick with sweat and anxiety, the consul's assistant examined David's file, fingers tapping nervously. "Without an exit visa, we cannot help." The words slammed like a verdict. Outside, Hannah leaned against the cool stone wall, closing her eyes as church bells tolled noon. She thought of her brother in Prague, perhaps hearing the same sky-ringing sound. A stranger approached, a young Dutch clerk who had overheard their plea. He quietly pressed an address into Hannah's hand. "There's someone in Rotterdam," he said. "Try him." She read the paper as if it were a passport itself. Hope flickered once more, fragile but alive amid the tightening noose of 1939 Europe.
By June, the Rosens reached Rotterdam under forged travel passes arranged by sympathetic friends. The city smelled of salt and tar, a strange freedom humming through its docks. Ships from across the world floated like possibilities. They found the address the Dutch clerk had given them, a shipping agent known to discreetly assist refugees. He listened, eyes unreadable, then said softly, "You've come just in time, but the passage is expensive." David handed him nearly all their savings. "We'll pay with whatever's left of our lives," he said. The agreement was sealed with desperation. That evening Hannah wandered the harbor, watching the sunset gild the water in fleeting warmth. For the first time in months, she allowed herself to imagine a horizon beyond fear, a place where her brother might laugh again. But as news spread of German threats to the Low Countries, even the sea seemed uncertain. The ship, the St. Louis, was to depart Hamburg in May, carrying over 900 souls bound for Cuba. The Rosens had hoped for the July sailing, but fate was cruelly swift. Word came of its denial in Havana, of passengers forced back toward Europe. Headlines crossed continents, echoing despair. Hannah listened to radio fragments in a Rotterdam boarding house, her fingers trembling on the dial.
"They turned them away," she whispered. Miriam closed her eyes. "Then no place is safe." Yet in the same breath, David refused surrender. "We still breathe," he said. "That is resistance." As thunder gathered over the North Sea, the family sat together in silence, aware that the world's doors had all but closed. The last light of summer flickered through rain-speckled glass, fragile, brief, and unbearably human.
By the fall of 1939, as Germany invaded Poland and Europe plunged into war, the Rosens world fully collapsed, borders sealed, visas lost meaning. Yet within their small rented room in Rotterdam, Hannah began writing, a chronicle of names, places, and dreams never fulfilled. "If we vanish," she said to her mother, "our words will remain." Outside, the sounds of marching feet grew louder each day. David looked from the window, face etched with fatigue but not defeat. Despite every loss, love bound them like invisible armor. Their story, though uncertain, had not been erased, it had only begun its journey into memory. The candlelight flickered over Hannah's journal, each page a testimony against oblivion. In a world poised for ruin, she wrote the final line, "We were here,